Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl. Hi.
Hi, Serial Squad.
Hi, Surreal Squad. So, as you can tell, we're back to our usual. And the reason is we had tech issues.
Yeah.
Before I get into it, if you have not listened to our spoiler-free episode, you should, because the surprise that we've been alluding to since the last episode is we were together.
We were together. Yay.
It was so much fun. So Corryn came down for my birthday. We had the best time. We actually recorded on my birthday, which was super fun. We were a little tired. And actually for that reason, I'm kind of glad we only did the spoiler-free episode because I was shocked either one of us still had a voice that day, because the night before we went karaokeing and we went hard. Like, I really did not think I was going to have a voice on Sunday. And somehow I did. We both did. But I was so tired as shit. So I'm kind of glad we had some tech issues. Basically what happened was we never filmed from like cameras before. It's always been webcams. And we forgot that the DSLRs we were using are like old school DSLRs. So they have a time limit for how long you can record. So like we were having to stop recording every 20 minutes.
Which just killed the vibe, killed the like kind of like the experience. Like I'm really interested to hear the spoiler-free episode at the end of just like, I'm sure David is going to do some really incredible editing magic to like to hide the fact that we were having to kind of like restart almost every 20 minutes. And you know, like things happen. I don't feel like either of us were really like angry about it. We were just sort of like, oh, okay, right. Like we hadn't really thought about this. Like, you know, and we feel bad that our Serial Squad is not getting the vibes of us together, but we decided that it was more important to have like a better episode than to just sort of like try to power through and like keep it going, because it was just a very tiring experience and Ariel and I were already pretty tired. So we kind of made the decision of like, you know what? Yes, they won't get the vibes of us together, but at least we won't be like rushing through an episode.
That's the thing. And I think like the vibes would have definitely, I feel like we're saying vibes a lot.
I know.
The vibes. It would have like we were able to make it through the spoiler-free episode like pretty fine, but I think if we'd done a whole second episode, like we would have been so pissed off at the tech issues by the end of it. So it wouldn't have been fun for you guys. But also fun fact for the astrology people out there, it was the last day of Mercury retrograde. So I'm like, of course this is happening. Like I should have seen it coming. But luckily though, because that is definitely not going to be the last time we record in the same place. Like I'm sure it will happen again in the future. And now we know like what little tech issues to work around. So
learning experience.
Exactly. And for the first time, because little behind the scenes how the sausage gets made for you guys, we always record the spoiler-free episode in the same day as the spoiler. I'm sorry, the spoiler episode we record after the spoiler-free episode in the same day. So you're getting us fresh today because we didn't have to record that today.
Yeah. And I'm very interested to see how this all goes down, because normally it's very fresh in our minds what we talked about in the spoiler-free episode. So this will be kind of interesting. We're kind of trying some new things out here. But I think I also wanted to say, like, you know, thanks for coming back. You know, we had like a little 2-week hiatus, and thanks for giving us that grace and coming back and listening. It's exciting to be back together. It's interesting, like even like setting up my room for the pod today. I was like, oh my God, feels like it's been ages. Cause I mean, for us, it's been, you know, like 6 weeks since we recorded like this. So kind of funny, like having to like get ourselves back into the mode.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, we ready just to like
Let's jump
jump right
in.
in. Right. So chapters 28 through 29, right, were our reading.
Interesting
And
chapters.
very interesting chapters. Ariel and I were kind of joking around of like they're not boring.
No.
It's just they're really I think they're rough chapters to have right after when you like finally get like the sex scene with her and
Yes.
Tamlin.
Yes.
So it's a little so like that's what we just came from, right, dear listeners, is like we get the whole, you know, we get the scary Rhys moment, which in our spoiler episode we really like dug deep into. We went we went further into the series to read about where Rhys's headspace was during that whole
Yes.
thing. And then we get the sex scene. And then basically, right, these 2 chapters are her returning home and being
Yeah.
home. Yeah, I mean, these chapters are kind of brutal because especially when you know the Under the Mountain is coming, you're just kind of like, can we get through this portion, please? Because
Yes.
I just want to get to the weird fucking crazy shit that happens to Under the Mountain.
The adventure.
The adventure of it
Well,
all.
you know what it reminds this is like a very personal thing, and I just realized in my life it reminds me of is, and we were kind of just talking about this before we started recording, is, for folks who don't know, I live in LA, and before David and I moved to LA, we lived in New York where I went to grad school, but there was a month in between that where we moved from New York and then back to the Bay Area to live with my parents so we can get set up in LA and like
Right.
figure that out. And these chapters feel like that month
Yeah.
of just like it's not boring. It's like nice being home and stuff, but you're also like, wait, oh my God, the store that, I grew up going to on in downtown, that's gone suddenly. And like this
Yeah.
new thing is here. And like that is very much what it feels like. And then like also knowing you're about to start a whole new adventure in your
Yeah.
life. Like that's I feel for the people who have read ACOTAR before. It's that similar feeling of like just came from one adventure. It's a little bit of a lull period, but we're also finding out what's new and what's changed, and we're just waiting for the next adventure. And
Yes.
it's a weird, I mean, because a lot has changed in Feyre's family. Like an extraordinary amount has
An
changed.
extraordinary amount. Like, I think I forgot like the timing
Yeah.
of it all, of like how pretty quickly, or like what Elaine says was like a week after Feyre left, this man comes to the door and is like, "Hey, can you help me invest my money?
Here, take all my money.
Take all my money, please, and like help me double it, and like
Yeah.
you get some money too." You know, like I just like forgot that it was like a week. And then I forgot how intensely Tamlin doubles down on the like economic situation here.
Yeah.
Like just the for to put this person in their path to help him make money,
Yep.
then for,
The ships to be
the
found,
ships to be found,
which we'll talk about.
and all this stuff coming, and then to send her with all these trunks and things. Like it's I have so many times in my notes, I just have Jesus, Tamlin, like, holy God, dude. Like, you really wanted, like, not only the family to be wealthy, but, like, something that Ariel brought up in the spoiler-free episode, which I thought was really important, was that also that Feyre was independently wealthy.
Yes.
And there's kind of like a deep-rooted feminine thing in me that, like, really appreciates that he wanted to make sure that Feyre was wealthy.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because guys, like, in our world, hasn't been that long that we've been able to have bank accounts, that we've been able to be financially independent.
Credit cards.
So
Yeah.
I
No.
got into this conversation with my partner last night of just, like, realizing every now and then when you realize how not long ago that was, there's, like, a level of, like, female rage that just sort of
Oh.
gets, like, out of me, and, like,
Yeah.
he's wonderful and, like, knows all of this, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I know, it's not very long," and I'm like, "It kind of makes
Fucked.
me, like, infuriated," and he's like, That's fair, that's fair."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he was very like, "Let it out, girl," but
Oh, and then you go down that rabbit hole of like, this is why people didn't get divorced and things like
well,
that. Like it's
or it's like, I think this is also why women even now still certain types of women now, like, don't even really know how to navigate this idea of, like, in a one income household. Like,
Yep.
what does using that money look like? Whose
Yes.
money is that? Or this older idea that some women have of that, like, any money he makes is my money too.
Yep.
Which, like, that's so dependent on your relationship. That's so dependent on
Totally.
how you guys have agreed upon on how to, like, navigate all of that. So, like, I'm not saying there's, like, that this means these people are bad or, like, whatever.
Right.
But this is why I think sometimes there's this, like, evolution that even, like, women mentally still have to go through of this idea of, like, a two-income household or a, like, whatever. I should stop us before we go
We
too down the
digress.
rabbit hole there. But I just appreciate that he has made her financially independent.
I want to talk about the clothes actually
Yeah.
that Alice puts her in, because actually, funny enough, I feel it's a similar subject. This chapter starts off with Feyre and Alice is dressing her in this very, she calls it frilly and confining and binding in all the wrong places. This dress that she's wearing, she also has these like lace gloves on. It's
Mhm.
like very much the opposite of Feyre's
Yeah.
style, right? And immediately I'm like, this is absolutely foreshadowing the wedding dress in Akamath.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Obviously not to that extreme degree. I mean,
But I mean,
yeah, every time I picture that dress, I think of Amy Adams
yeah,
in Enchanted, that
100%,
poofy
100%,
dress.
absolutely.
It's not that bad, but it's a similar thing where it like, I mean, we've talked about this before. Sarah J. Maas, not just in ACOTAR, but I would argue in all of her books, what her characters wear, specifically her female protagonist, is so important, and it really tells you what their headspace is
Yes.
and their comfort level.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
just a beautiful, I would say one of the first kind of big examples of her doing that, of showing Feyre is, she literally says she's leaving her home.
Yeah.
Tamlin's house is now her home, and she feels severely uncomfortable with that,
Yeah.
and that's reflected in her attire.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so sad.
Oh, man. I hadn't thought about that comparison. That's really good. It also is, like, maybe a metaphor of showing how much she's, like, willing to go outside of her comfort zone for Tamlin. Like, there's a lot of different things. You could also take it to another place of also showing just, how long has Feyre truly not really fit into the mortal world?
I
You
mean,
know? Like,
yeah.
she's being put into this outfit because we're supposed to be continuing to sell a story, right? Of
Yes.
that she's been living with this rich aunt, and that in theory this aunt had died and gave her her fortune. And
Yeah.
so there's a certain, like, visual expectation that people are going to have of Feyre. And so it's
Yeah.
also this reminder of just, like, what lie that she's having to continue to sell and, like, all this stuff. But I hadn't thought about, like, the metaphor of it all, of just,
Yeah.
like, she is actively having to do something that we kinda see it later in the chapter, like, actively goes against her gut. And
Yes.
so I just, yeah, wow, great comparison. Really
Well, and
great comparison. I hadn't thought about that.
thank you. It's something I just realized also is like it's showing she's changed into a person who she doesn't even know yet isn't her,
Ha.
right? Because this is skipping a little bit ahead, and I promise we'll come back. Her sisters don't recognize her at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't recognize her, and it'd be one thing if they didn't recognize her because she was wearing something she's actually truly comfortable in, and
Right.
they're like, "Oh, that's different from, the the rags you had to
Right.
wear because we were
Right.
poor," right?
Right.
But no, they don't recognize her because she's wearing something she would never choose
Right.
to wear, which is, I think, again, it's foreshadowing this journey that she's on before she even realizes it.
Yeah. That's very good. Well, and I kinda love this conversation between her and Alice
Oh,
of, like, basically them both saying that they just, like, prefer Irish goodbyes, that they
I know.
both like, that neither of them like, they're basically both just like, "Yeah, I would rather just get to dip." But it's interesting, there's this quote that Alice says on 249 that she says, "Make the most of your freedom."
Oh, yeah.
And reading that quote with a spoiler Serial Squad cap on,
Yeah.
I have some, like, what could be basically like rhetorical questions, but just like, what is this a push towards like Alice being like, make the most of your freedom, like think about what has happened here, think about what is occurring, make the most of your like, make the most of you basically getting to go to a safe space and have time to think, like,
right,
make the most of it, aka meaning I hope that means you like come back and save us all, or is it sort of just this overall hope for Feyre to just like just make the most of it, baby girl.
Yeah,
like,
it's
don't worry
genuine.
about us. Just go live your life. And I almost feel like there's a little bit of column A, column B here. Like, I actually feel like there's a little bit of Alice that wants her to be the one to break the curse. But I also think there's another element of Alice that just wants Feyre to be happy in whatever way that means.
Alice is an enigma to me, I think. And it's why she kind of is. And it's why I really hope we get to see her again in a future ACOTAR book, because I just don't think her story is done. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I would be a little bit disappointed in Sarah J. Maas if we never saw her again. Because like, aside from not really knowing what happens to her, you know, especially after the Summer Court is destroyed. Although I think they do say we know she's safe. But still, I think Alice, we never really know how Alice feels about Tamlin, right? Like, we know that she thinks he's good in terms of being a master, right? But that's still like that's still her employer, right? Like, that doesn't mean she thinks he's a good person. That means she thinks he's better than other, you know, high lords who would have employed her, right? So I really hope we get some kind of answer from her about what she really thinks of Tamlin. And I agree. I think there is a little bit of column A, column B of like, obviously she wants this mask off her own fucking face, right? So I'm sure she's like, girl, figure this out. But also, like, her and Feyre have grown pretty fucking close. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's like, yeah, this guy ain't for you. Like, I don't remember a ton of the things that she says to Feyre and Akamath. So I'm like really excited to get to that and see like how she's kind of talking to Feyre, you know, leading up to the wedding, especially. So I'm curious.
Well, Alice is like kind of an ally in Mist and Fury.
Well, when Mor comes to get her, I do remember she's like, take her, please, take care of her. Like, so
like, I'm pretty sure if it's like later when she's like a spy, when Feyre's a spy, I actually think Alice even finds her like stash of things or something. And like, I don't know. So at Akawar, like, I even think there's like a moment where Alice kind of like acknowledges that like, I think I know that you're gonna be leaving. And like, they have like a really interesting conversation that kind of shows that like Alice is definitely on Feyre's side. But no, there's definitely little beats. And honestly, with like how Sarah J. Maas is, like, if you guys have read any other series, like besides ACOTAR, this woman loves bringing back a side character that you met.
Boy, does she.
That you met in a random book and they end up being wildly important.
Even sometimes not. Like,
or sometimes not, but but just like but they're important in that they're like a part of the team, or you know, like, she loves doing that. So it would actually feel, because Alice isn't just a dude you meet in a challenge.
No.
That's a specific shout out to some homies out there if you guys know what I'm talking about. But like, she loves doing that. So it would feel like a little out of character for her to not, because Alice is like important. She's very important to Feyre's whole experience here.
So they have their little Irish goodbye. It's very sad, but also, I mean, we know they're gonna reunite. So it's like, you know. What I was also really fascinated about in this chapter is Lucien.
Dude.
We gotta talk about
frustration. The frustration that I feel for Lucien, that I feel with Lucien. Like,
and towards him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, with him, towards him, at him, for him,
Every
like
way.
all the possible ways. Like he pisses me off in this chapter, but I actually totally understand. But
Yes.
also, dude.
Well, I just wrote I wrote for on page 250, he tells Feyre, I thought you were smarter than this. I just wrote in all caps, so much more worse when you know what he's referring to. And it's like, I think that what you just said of like feeling frustration with him, towards him, and like everything, like is encapsulated in this one
That one
quote.
quote.
Because like on the one hand, I just am like, Lucien,
Fuck
how the
you.
fuck is fuck you? How the fuck is she supposed to? It's similar to the I think it was in one of the last chapters when Tamlin's like, I thought you could like you would be able to read between the lines or whatever he said. It's like,
Yeah.
how the fuck is she even
How?
supposed to know what the lines are? And it's similar to this, but then I give Lucien actually a little more leeway than when Tamlin said that, because like this is kind of like the last ditch effort,
Yes.
right? Of just like see ya. I know you're seconds from leaving. Like we need you to just fucking see it. And I think that really comes out on the same page when he then turns to Tamlin and says, "You're not even gonna give her a few more days, just a few, before you send her back to that human cesspit." Because at the end of the day, Lucien knows this really is Tamlin's baggage, right? Like
Yes.
he is the one who has to convince Feyre. And it's really not up to Lucien, yet he's still trying. He's still trying to get her to see it. And because also we got to remember, even though we don't quite entirely know how the curse works in terms of like, you know, if they say something, does the curse literally prevent them, like
Yeah.
physically prevent them from
Yeah.
saying it? We don't know, but either
Yeah.
way, we know it prevents them from saying certain things. So like there's like things Lucien literally cannot say, and I think this is just him desperately trying to say it, but he also does it in such an asshole way, and you're like, my guy.
Dude, like genuinely, like just fuck right off. Like I
Yeah, yeah.
just like I literally wrote, what is he saying? Is he saying she should have figured out this curse by what's going on? Like she should have
Yeah.
like she should ignore Tamlin and stay? Like, dude, what do you mean figure out? Like like how is
Like,
she even supposed to do this?
have you met Tamlin? He will physically not let her do this. Like,
No, like exactly, like that's what I mean. Is it's like, what do you mean by I thought you were smarter than this? Like,
yeah.
what is she supposed to do? And like, it literally is just like, it's so infuriating. Because also, there's a level that you can tell where it's exactly what you just said, where like you can feel his just like overall frustration in the entire situation, like bubbling up.
Yeah.
And this like powerlessness that he basically has of that, like he can't say a certain amount. And
No.
I love that you brought up the can she just stay for a few days, because that was my other thing of like him saying could she just stay a few more days feels very much like Lucien wanted her to have more time to figure it all out, give her more time to say I love you, because I feel like
Yes.
Lucien could tell that like she is a beat away. She is a breath away. Yeah. No, I know. That she's a breath away from saying I love you, and that she is
Yeah.
like settling in to this like new place with Tamlin. And and this is very true in like many relationships where it's like you need a little bit of time to
Right.
like when you make a realization about how you feel about someone,
Yeah.
or like I knew I was in love with Jeff before I think I knew for like a month before I said
Same.
something to him, because you
Yeah.
you need to like sit with the reality. You need to sit with that
Yes.
for a little while before you say anything. And what I think is so fascinating by reading this chapter as someone who knows the entirety of the series
Yeah.
is this really bizarre feeling you have of like, oh my God, we were so close. But then realizing that actually the way it goes down in the books is the way it needs to go down, or else she
Yes.
would never have that connection with Rhys. So it's
No.
this really bizarre thing, like, because later in the chapter, when she doesn't say, I love you, and how
Hmm.
she like feels like she needs to, right? We're on page 251 at this point, and she's like, I should say it. I should say those words. But then all these thoughts come in.
Yes.
And like this reasoning makes a lot of sense. Like it does.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want to burden him. I don't want all this stuff. And I literally wrote, oh, baby girl, the mother held your tongue because then you would have
Yeah.
never have made the bargain with Rhys.
Well, okay. This brings me to perfect segue. Thank you for setting this up.
So welcome.
So I'm going to put my little tinfoil Faye hat on for a second. I just picture a tinfoil hat, but like with like bat wings.
Little ears.
Yeah. Oh, their ears. Yeah. Little Faye ears. So, okay. This brings into question why Tamlin sends her away so quickly, right? And I think the obvious answer is Rhys, right?
Yes.
Like Rhys coming. But why? Right? Like, and yes, there's absolutely an argument to be made that it's because he knows Rhys is going to go back, telling Amarantha, blah, 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 blah.
You're going to get woo-woo on me here, aren't you?
Getting a little woo-woo here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Can Tamlin, whether it is like a literal physical sense, like smelling or whatnot, or just an intuitive feeling,
Yeah.
does he sense that Feyre and Rhys are mates? And he is scared of that.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't like know it on a like conscious level necessarily, but like we've all been in a room, right? Where there's two people, whether or not they know they're attracted to one another, you can sense the vibe. There's a
feel
thickness to the air.
Yes.
Exactly. Because like they were all in the same room together. Did Tamlin sense something, whether on a like Fae level or just an intuitive level between those two that freaked him the fuck out and made him go, I'm sending her home tomorrow?
I mean, like, I'm gonna jump on this train with you.
Yeah. Choo-choo, get on board.
Choo-choo. Well, choo-choo. I jumped right on with you. We're riding on top because I really like this idea. And I'm gonna take it to another little place of like,
yes,
more like maybe more like a top, like a surface level in the sense of that he can sense some kind of connection between them.
Yes,
and he has no, but and where his brain is at, it's this fear of like a death connection. Like maybe this will be the man who kills her. Maybe this will be the like because there's no way that he could ever even think that if there's a connection between him and Feyre that it's going to be them being fucking mates. Like there's no way that that's like in his fucking exactly, that's even in his stratosphere. So in my mind, trying to get into like the Tamlin brain, I feel like if he sensed any kind of connection, which I do believe he could have sensed, because Rhys knows he has a connection to Feyre and he still doesn't know what it is yet. He just knows he knows that she has been the source of a certain amount of joy for him to survive his times with Amarantha. And that's kind of the only importance that she has for him, like right now, that she's been the source of reminder of like happiness, basically.
Yes.
But like with Tamlin, if he senses this connection, which I do believe that he could have sensed, he's going to think of it in the point of view that he has of the world, which could be maybe he senses a connection because this is the man who will bring down the final doom of Feyre, or this is the man who is going to break Tamlin's heart, or this is the man that is going to. So like, I actually think that this could be like somewhat of a theory that we could like totally continue to snowball, because I do think then that would make him even more like, I need to get you as far away from this man that I can feel a connection with you. And the only reason I could feel a connection there's a strong chance it's because he's the one who like tortures you, or he's the one who captures you, or like whatever. So I like this little tinfoil idea.
I love it. And like, again, I know we are Tamlin redemption arc truthers here on this podcast. It's another reason I want, even if it's not a redemption arc, but I want a Tamlin perspective book to hear like what was going on in his head during this, right? Like
basically we just need like a chapter 54 for Tamlin.
Yeah.
And let it be an entire book.
Oh my God.
I know.
And again, this is coming from two people who don't really like Tamlin.
I do not like him. I do not like him. I do not like him. I really don't.
No,
but the perspective that we could get would be so fascinating.
Okay. Speaking of tampon. I've been very good not saying it.
No,
I've
you've
been
done
very
great.
good.
You've done great. You really
I had to
have.
say it once. And for this quote specifically, I feel this drove me up the wall, Corinne. On
What?
page 251.
Yeah.
They're saying their goodbyes. And he says, "I will see you again." This to me feels so irresponsible for him to see. I know we talked about in the spoiler-free episode that I love you. And I think over the last days I've thought about it and I'm like, I actually kind of agree with you about there is something that could be, depending on the person, like beautiful about like saying I love you and all this time we had together. That's
With
fair.
it still being selfish. With it
With it
still
still being
like
selfish.
I think what we talked about in the spoiler free is that it's like a bit of a two truths scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But saying I will see you again, that just gives her false hope.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, he truly does not know. Like, he's stating it like a fact. And
Yeah.
he truly does not know if that will happen, especially because the whole point of him sending her away is to protect her. And again, I want to come back to what we talked about in a previous episode of like, he glamored her family because he was like, one of them, probably her dad, is going to try and come back or try and come to Prithian to find her. So if he thinks that of her father who has a bad leg, right?
Interesting. That's an interesting point.
Why would he think of that with her? Especially because that's what that bitch ends up doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she literally does come back.
Yeah.
And so it's like, my guy, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Well, what we have discussed before about Tamlin is the lack of forethought
Yes.
is
precisely.
just wildly insane. And I guess it's very prevalent. And because I hadn't thought about the fact that, like, if he thought that her family would come get her, why would he not think that Feyre would try to come back? So you bring up a very good point. I had not looked at that quote in that way before. To me, it kind of feels along the lines of the I love you, of it's almost Tamlin. He's saying it for himself as much as he's saying it for her. Like, it feels very like, I need to believe that this is going to happen, or this moment right now is like actually unbearable.
Yeah.
And so, but it kind of, I still think if he's coming at it from that headspace, it actually still goes into the place of what you're saying, of that it being annoying that he isn't thinking about because this whole I will see you again. It's like, yeah, bro, but you kind of have the power in that because baby girl doesn't want to leave. You're making her leave. And yeah, like, when has Feyre ever done anything that you have said?
Right.
Like, she pretty much goes against the majority of the shit that you ask her to do, like,
yes,
a lot of the time. And so
at least 90%, I'm going to say.
So this is you bring up a very interesting point. Yeah.
It's especially also like the other thing I want to bring up is like he doesn't even escort her to the wall. Like,
I know.
he's just like, okay, bye.
I thought that was
Go
interesting
off.
too.
Like, and I get, like, yes, it could be like harder for him and whatnot, but
to drag
like,
out the journey, like, yeah.
But if you really, I don't know, I'm just thinking it from the perspective of like, in a weird world where like David and I would have to part ways, like I would see him off till the last possible fucking
100%.
second I could.
But interestingly enough, if that were to happen, Feyre would know exactly how to get back to the Spring Court.
Because she gets knocked out from the magic.
And remember, he ends up knocking her out, which is very annoying. But I think that's Tamlin's little way of being like,
yeah,
good luck.
Good luck coming back.
I know who you are.
And
don't go against.
I
know she does still find a way.
Like, which is wild.
Yeah.
Now, where I can give Tamlin some credit, going back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, is how well he takes care of the Archerons and Feyre. Like, although not so much the Archerons because they weren't in love yet, but with Feyre, you could argue that's some love bombing tactics.
So I actually have a quick question that jumps us a hair back before we do the family stuff.
Yeah, go for
this.
It.
I love you from Tamlin, just like ever so quickly.
Yes.
So we finally get an I love you.
Yeah, an official one where she is fully awake.
Do you fully believe that in this moment he was in love with her?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I think, and I God, I can't believe I'm flip-flopping. I think a big reason for a lot of what Tamlin does, but especially the lack of foresight stuff,
Yeah.
is I think him falling in love with Feyre really was not part of the plan, and it
Yeah.
really took him by surprise, and it jarred him,
Yeah.
honestly. And I think it's kind of the two truth things in this moment of like, I think he both means it, and he's also trying to see like, is she going to say it back to break the curse? But I do actually think he means it.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of talked about this before of like, I think Tamlin was genuinely in love with Feyre, but also I think that really depends on, and I'm talking about the reader's definition of love, right? Because I think we've talked about this in a
Yeah.
previous episode, like, you know, famous intersectional feminist Bell Hooks has this great book called All About Love. And she talks about the difference between like actual love and what she calls caffecting, which is like essentially like a really deep infatuation with the person that looks almost identical to love. And the
Yeah.
main difference is, her definition of love means like there can't be abuse
Mm, mm.
within love, like that it contradicts love, right? And that's
Yeah.
actually a definition that really resonates with me. Don't quote me fully, it's been a long time since I've read that book, but like that's essentially the essence of it.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's an argument to be made, that Tamlin is caffecting rather than like loving.
Yes.
But I think, we're that's getting pretty intellectual
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think, although going kind of back to what we previously talked about of like, I think he fell in love with an idea of Feyre,
Yes.
not who Feyre actually is, versus Rhys, who falls in love with the real Feyre, right? Like
Yeah.
he knows her I mean, he's literally her mate, right?
Yeah.
Like he knows Feyre and supports who Feyre is deep down, whereas Tamlin does the opposite, which is kind of why I brought up those definitions.
Right.
But in this moment, I think Tamlin loves her as much as Tamlin can possibly love her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. And I think Tamlin is doing two things here. I think
Mm.
he is being honest,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think he is very purposefully rushing all of these things because I think he's
Yes.
trying to get her to say something.
Yes.
Like, I feel like there's even a confirmation of this later in the
There
book
might be. Yeah.
or in the other book that like he kind of like forced this leaving to sort of try to get her to say something maybe faster
Mm.
than she would have.
So which is answers Lucian's question of like, why
Yeah.
didn't you wait a few days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure that we get confirmation on that, but like this
Or it's
feels
implied.
very like this weird kind of combination of he is speaking the truth, but I think he's also doing things a little bit quicker to try to get her to say I love you faster
Yes.
than she originally would have. I also think the quickness in which these two believe that they love each other, I think is another sign and another confirmation of what we're talking about, of that these two loved the space and the idea that this other person provided for them of their future. Like
Yes.
she fell in love with the safety. She fell in love with like, I mean, when you feel extremely safe with someone and you're physically attracted to them, it can be very hard to separate whether that's like true love.
Yeah.
Also there's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. So it's like, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of like complexities here.
Yeah.
But I just think this moment is like really interesting because I feel like Tamlin is like kind of trying to like kill two birds with one stone here.
Yeah.
And it's still, and I know I already said it in this episode, but it's still so fascinating to me how, as someone from a reread perspective, there's a small part of you that is just like, girl, say it. We know you love him in this moment.
Yeah.
But then I kept making this realization of like, no, she needs to go under the mountain. She has to do that to start. Like, can you imagine if she had broke the curse before creating that bargain with Rhys? She would have
They would
no
never
type
would've
of, they would not have that connection. They would
she wouldn't
not,
become Faye.
she wouldn't become Faye. That's a really good point too.
like, she wouldn't have died and then had to become Fae, and then the mating bond between her and Rhys would have never
Would never
snapped into
snapped into place.
place.
So, like, that's what I think is really kind of shocking about this chapter is
Yes.
it seems very unassuming. It seems boring. But actually the importance of realizing, like, I made this realization when we're reading it this time of like, holy
Yeah.
shit, Feyre has to do the Under the Mountain. That
Yes.
has to happen
Yes.
for their life to unfold in the way that it's like destiny is like it's like supposed to. And which is just
Yes.
like kind of an insane realization to have.
Oh, I think it's actually a very universal experience. Like, not
Yeah.
everyone's gonna go through it, obviously, but, like, I think a lot of people do, and I think that's the point of this book, right? And we've
Yep.
talked about before of, like, this is Sarah J. Maas's love letter to the people who have been in relationships like this that were, frankly, emotionally abusive,
Yeah.
and but it looked like love,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so hard to differentiate of, like, between, like, actual being in love with someone and, like, being in what looks like love with someone,
Yeah.
but they're actually using you
Yeah.
for whatever ends they're trying to get, and then that leading to you understanding what real love is,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Totally.
fucking beautiful, and I think that's why this book has stood the test of time because, like, let's not forget, folks, it's 2025. This book came out in 2015,
Yeah.
10 years ago, and it's still, I mean, I would argue it's more popular than ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really popular right now for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every year more people discover this
Yeah.
series and I think really see themselves
Yeah.
reflected in it.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
well, and I think proof of Tamlin's love, we'll call it, as far as he can love her, is the
Nice.
money.
Nice,
See,
Ariel. Way to fucking
little.
bring that shit back round. That's my
Thank you,
girl.
thank you. But
Nice.
obviously, him giving the riches to the Archerons, I think that was because I think in Tamlin's mind, truly, I think he thought, I'm gonna use this girl, and after, let's be honest, she's gonna probably fucking die. Right?
Sure.
Like, at the very least, I don't care what's gonna happen to her. Like, and I'm talking beginning when he first met
Okay.
Feyre,
Like
right?
early.
Early
Yeah.
when he kidnaps
Got it.
her, takes her away, right? And I
Yeah.
think Tamlin, as we've talked about, he's not a villain. He's just
No.
a misguided dude, right?
Yeah.
And so I think he knew she was the reason for the Archeron's survival, right?
Yeah.
So he being a decent female was like, I'm at least going to make sure these people don't starve, right?
Yeah.
And not just not starve. Like, my God, they describe the new Archeron Manor
Dude.
as being as almost big as Tamlin's,
Which
right?
is
Like,
insane. Yeah.
and I think that he knows it's not just like, oh, this is like our means to an end, right? For survival. Like, this is a beloved family member. So, like, how do you replace an entire person? You really can't. But the
No.
next best thing you can do is make sure that person's family lives the best possible lives that they
Yeah.
can, right? And
Yeah.
he fucking provides. So I think that
Dude.
explains, in my mind at least, how fucking much he gives her family. But her, that's, I think, out of his love, we'll call it, like, but again, it's also kind of a form of love bombing, right?
Yeah.
Like, we do see this. So, in real life, but yeah, I mean, it is wild how rich the family is now.
They're so wealthy. And it's really insane to me too, like how quickly this wealth means that they kind of like bounce back into society. Like it's so
Yep.
wild to me how quickly, like what? They've been in this house for
Few months,
what,
like
5
maybe 3 or
months?
4.
Yeah,
5
something
max.
like that. And
Yeah.
they've already ended a socialite season. Like it's so crazy to me how quickly everything has changed for like everyone in this family. But when you were talking about the Tamlin love thing,
Yeah.
the other thing that I think is kind of a sign that goes along with this idea of like kind of proof that he does actually really love her is this. I really wish I talked about this in the spoiler free
Mhm.
episode, so I'm just bringing it up now, which it's 255, it's chapter 29, and it's about her dad. And she's like, he was clear-eyed again and moved with a sense of purpose. Even his limp was improved, made miraculously better by some tonic and salve a strange passing healer had given him for free. Like, that to me is proving even more of what you just said, of how like the initial money thing was to just Tamlin does care about humans. So he is going to want to help to set up this family. We already know that he, fought for humans, even though his dad was against. Like, we already know where he lands on the whole human conversation. Yeah. But I think to further prove this point that you've made of like the other stuff that he did kind of once he realized that he was sort of like falling for her, this thing for her dad, it feels like that to me, of like this.
It happened after when
because it happened later. It happened when they were kind of already like wealthy.
Yeah.
This feels like after they swam in the, Stardust soul pool.
In the pool of dead souls.
In the pool of dead souls, that he then, because that's when he finally heard the whole story, right? Yes. And I feel like that's when he was like, all right, I'm going to send. It's just like, because this does feel, because she even finishes that quote with like, for that alone, I would like thank him or like love him for, like, oh yeah, be forever grateful. Like for that alone, because in that moment, he's doing more than just financial security.
Yeah.
He's doing mental health. Like he's doing like, so that I feel goes along with what you're saying of like how he did all these little things later. And like, honestly, I have a really hard time like hating on Tamlin with these 2 chapters. Yeah. Because yes, I agree, is it a fair amount of love bombing? Yes. I also feel like Tamlin doesn't fully know how to not love bomb, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All you really see in my mind a lot from Tamlin in these 2 chapters, besides him just being like kind of selfish and irresponsible with some of the things that he says, which like I'm on board with, but we're getting to see all the behind the scenes stuff that Tamlin was doing to take care of her family and to like plan for this, which is wild.
Well, and you know what's even wilder is our girl, our favorite, Nesta sees through it. Like, rereading these chapters, having read not just all this book, but Akasif.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. So, like, the first big, like, whoa moment for me was on page 252. It's after, like, Feyre's come home. The sisters recognize her finally. And they I think Elain said something about like, did Aunt Ripley die? And Feyre's like, oh right, yeah, I gotta pretend this aunt's a thing. She says yes, and Nesta says, quote, she left you her fortune. Nesta said flatly, it wasn't a question. And I remember like when I first read this, like I was like, okay, she's just being heartless Nesta. It's probably jealousy, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no. She knows there is no Aunt Ripley. Yeah. She knows Feyre's lying. That's why she says it flatly. And like, that was just like, oh my God. Like, also just like, not for nothing, as an eldest daughter of a family, like it just is so eldest daughter coded. I'm just like, yeah, no, I see through this. Like, I know what you're doing here. Yeah. And it tickles me,
Dude, I mean, so much of these 2 chapters, because I kept, dear sweet listeners, like before we were talking about these chapters, I kept being like, well, yeah, I mean, like Nesta tells her she knows, like in this chapter, right? And Ariel would be like, no. And then I'd be like, in this chapter, right? And she's like, no, like you got to wait a little bit till like that happens. Cause I think it's the next one after this.
I think it's 2 more chapters.
Okay. But so yeah, so like for those, if anyone like forgot, very soon we're going to find out that Nesta like knows all the truth.
The glamour didn't work.
The glamour didn't work on her, which like there's so many theories. Yeah, there's so many theories as to why, all this stuff. But so it's really crazy reading this portion, knowing that this entire time Nesta knows the truth. And I think it makes all of Nesta's behavior makes so much sense. Like
so much
sense. Yeah, like, and Nesta, like Elain keeps kind of talking about how Nesta Well, actually, more like in chapter, like if we go in kind of chronological order, like in chapter 28, we get a lot more of like sort of just like Feyre observing Nesta and just kind of observing that like she's just being a little like
Kind
the
of
Nesta,
cagey.
kind of, and like the Nesta that we met in the beginning of the book, she's kind of a talker. Like
Yeah.
she kind of
Yeah.
talks shit. Like she kind of is like sort of constantly going off about something, or like if Elaine's talking, she's sort of like silently bulldogging everybody, you know, so like Elaine can get her word out. But it's like I don't really feel like the Nesta we met in the beginning of this book is a quiet person.
No.
So this whole sort of style of, unless she's like with her dad, right? She just like does not, you know, but this kind of like quiet, keeping to herself, being
She's observing,
walking a step behind her and Elaine.
Yeah.
Like when normally it's Nesta who would have like grabbed Elaine and walked along. Like there's so many little like moments that I think Sarah gives us that then when we find out that Nesta has known this whole time, it makes so much sense. Because guys,
Completely.
put yourself in this zone. Can you imagine? Like like how bizarre. Like Feyre's already having a hard enough time, right? But Nesta and Feyre just got here, and she at least had this whole, you know, romantic journey discovering herself in the spring court. Nesta went from having this weird moment of being glamored, right? Like it worked on her for like a hot second.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, and I'm glad I don't fully remember how it happens to her because we're going to get to read that soon. But all of a sudden, everything comes clear for her.
Yes.
And just imagine how insane you're going to feel knowing that because your baby sister sacrificed herself, your family got crazy rich, is moving into a new place. But the caveat is that no one really knows why. And you are the only one
who knows.
Who knows? Like that has got to feel so insane. And like there's even this thing that I have some quotes that I feel like prove this. Mm-hmm. But like in chapter 29, it's page 256. Feyre says like Nesta though had been quiet and watchful, only giving Elaine answers no longer than a word or two. And like I just think this shows like her headspace, and kind of what I have written here is like this probably makes her even more pissed at her dad too.
Absolutely. That he can't. Well, okay. I funny enough, I had that quote too, so I'm so glad you brought it up.
It's funny.
Also, I want to go back to what you said a little bit earlier about like there's a lot of theories around why Nesta was able to break out of the glamour, right? And I would like to offer this up.
Ooh.
So it's not so much a theory about like the mechanics of like how she saw, although I guess maybe this could be. But if we think about glamour, regardless if it's in the context of this scenario or otherwise, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the wealth that they attain is also kind of an illusion, right? In terms of how they got it, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's think about Nesta's journey that we don't really find out fully until Akasif, or maybe a little bit earlier, but between this and Akasif, right? Because what else happens? It had to have happened like right after Feyre left. Thomas Mandre tries to sexually assault her.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And we find out on page 254 that like Feyre says, so she hadn't married Thomas Mandre after all, right? And I just wrote like, it's so heartbreaking to know, like we know why. That's a form of illusion breaking, right? Because she had this illusion of who Thomas Mandre was. He's a pretty okay guy who at least, you know, is going to get me out of poverty, right? And we'll probably live at least a decent life together, right?
Yeah.
Only to learn this guy is an abuser.
Yeah.
Right? That's a form of breaking an illusion. And I wonder if that is just a testament to, I mean, we've all read the books, right?
Yeah.
We know out of everyone, the least bullshitty person in the series is Nesta.
Yeah.
Right? Like she tells it like it is, even when she's wrong. But at least the way she sees it, right? And so I think and maybe we'll get the mechanics someday around like how she was able to like get through the glamour. But I think it's a lot more of a literary sort of metaphoric thing,
Hmm.
right? Where this is the first time, because like let's be honest, like she was kind of before Feyre got taken away, she was creating her own illusions,
Yeah.
right? As a survival tactic, right? I think Nesta, part of the reason she doesn't ever really do anything to help the family like Feyre does,
Mm-hmm.
is because I think she did have this illusion that one day things would go back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say maybe she even talks about that in Akasif. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm.
And I think the combination of having a literal glamour being put on her and then this Thomas Mandray incident, I think forced her out of those illusions. And from then on, she is seeing things with a clear vision,
Yeah.
right? So I think that is a really, I mean, because also in chapter 29, it's the scene when Elain and Feyre are in Elaine's garden. They're just kind of
Mm-hmm.
talking. On page 257, Elaine says, Nesta didn't finish the season. She wouldn't tell me why. She began refusing every invitation. She hardly talks to anyone. And I feel wretched that one of my friends pay a visit because she makes them so uncomfortable when she stares at them in that way of hers. And I think I think there's two parts to the reason she didn't finish the season. I think one, the Thomas incident
Yeah.
probably is a huge reason.
Yeah.
Although we find out that incident happened before they became rich, because that's the whole reason she even tried to get him to propose.
Right. Right.
But the other thing I think it's even more so is Nesta sees how false everything is,
Yeah.
right? Because let's be honest, like wealth is a type of illusion
Yeah.
in terms of the how do I phrase this? Like the way people act
Yeah.
when they're wealthy,
Yeah.
right? They create this whole bubble
Yeah.
that only them and their wealthy friends are in. I mean, Elaine talks about in chapter 29, like people just treated us like we had just gone away because we were sick or something or been on vacation. I forgot
Yeah.
exactly what she says, but they wouldn't acknowledge what really happened, which is we were in poverty for 8 fucking years,
Yeah.
right? And they just pretend like nothing ever happened. That is an illusion.
Yeah.
And Nesta has seen I mean, if we want to talk about real life, we're going through this right now as a
Yeah.
country. Like we are class consciousness has never been stronger in this
Yes.
country than it
Yeah.
is now. And Feyre is going through her own version of that, but like not just with class consciousness, but with like consciousness about how the whole world operates between human and fae, between men and women, like all of it. And I think that's why, I mean, it's what gives me so much empathy for her through this entire series and why she becomes, in the words of Taylor Swift, a functioning alcoholic,
Yeah.
right? It's why she becomes a sex addict, because she
Yeah.
does, like, I know people don't like to see this, but she becomes a sex addict
Yeah.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of her sobriety journey.
Yeah.
She's not just getting sober from alcohol, she's getting sober from addiction overall.
Yeah.
And can you really blame a girl for
Yeah.
having those vices after what
Yeah.
she has seen and like
Yeah.
the crumbling of her worldview,
Yeah.
basically? So I think Nesta, this is like such an important chapter in terms of Nesta that like you really don't realize its importance until hindsight.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I did not realize how same cuz like most of my spoiler notes are just to do with Nesta
Yeah.
because it is fascinating. You are very it's everything you just said, which I think all of it was very great points that you made. And like it's almost like we kind of miss out on like a really intense growing period for Nesta.
Yeah.
And this is sort of our like quick summary
Yeah.
of like I think there is a level of Nesta that is actively disgusted watching these rich people just sort of like parade about with all of their things.
Yes.
And especially she's working through this mental thing of when I was desperate, the only answer I had was to like use my body because that's how I was trained. That's how my
Yeah.
mother trained me, right?
Yes.
When my little sister was desperate, she got us food.
Yeah.
And then she sacrificed her entire life to get us to where we are now. Like, I think there's a lot of like come to Jesuses that happen for
Yes.
Nesta
Come to the
while
mother.
Feyre. Yes, thank you. Come to the mother. So I still got that Catholic upbringing, y'all. I can't stop some of these phrases. If any of you don't know what a come to Jesus is, it's kind of like it's like a reality check. It's kind of this like, oh shit, it's a mirror being placed in front of you. It's this realization that you're making of like, oh, wow, I have to admit X, Y, and Z about
An
myself or about
Ouroboros
my
mirror.
situation. Oh,
Oh, so what
very
did there?
good. Very good. That was really good, actually.
Oh,
But
thank you.
yeah. But so I think Nesta, I think she has a lot of this happen while Feyre is gone. And I think then this added, so she's probably already feeling pretty shitty about herself too. And
Oh, yeah.
then anyone who has been unfortunate enough to experience some kind of sexual assault, your personal feelings of like worth or whatever just really go down the tube. So she is just not in a good place. All the while, also, she's surrounded by this family who is just like, look at our fortune. It's so amazing and lovely. And oh, she's in the garden planting roses. And Nesta's over here like, what the fuck, you guys? Like, what? Do we know where Feyre is? Is Feyre okay? Like, but she can't say any of this to anybody. So it's just like the fact that actually that Nesta didn't just like go insane during this section of time is kind of impressive, to be perfectly honest with you.
Truly.
So like, I'm so glad we're getting to do a redo here because I also feel like it then makes you, Nesta gets a lot of shit after the turn, after the girls come out of the cauldron, right? For like how she behaves and how angry she gets about like dealing with being a human. But if you kind of pile up all the shit like for Nesta, I'm not saying that no one else is going through things, but it's just like, no wonder she kind of cracks a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it makes a whole lot of sense because I mean, like Feyre even kind of says this thing of like, oh, like, you know, how simple this is, this conversation about fortunes being left to people and socialites and like all these things, because she came from such like a bigger world of things being such a bigger deal. Nesta has had to live in this small world being aware of the bigger things that are happening, and she can't talk about it or do anything about it. And like that has just got to be so maddening. Like literally the more I'm sitting here and talking about this, the more I'm like, you guys are lucky this woman didn't like end up bashing her head against the fucking wall. Like this is
like
actually murdering. But to go to the glamour discussion.
Yeah.
I am more of the, I mean, I love this whole illusion concept that you just gave us though. That was very, very cool. Because I think it's a really good discussion of actually what the act of sexual assault does to many people. It not only breaks an illusion that you feel about someone else, it breaks an illusion you have about yourself.
Yeah.
We all have this really wonderful idea of who we think we would be in a sexual assault situation. And a lot of the things that women have to deal with afterwards is this disappointment in themselves and that they didn't react the way that they thought.
Yes.
And as someone who has been in that scenario, it's really hard. It's really hard afterwards. You feel a lot of self-hatred. And so you end up carrying a lot of this responsibility on yourself, which is just so unbelievably unfair, right? That like something has happened to someone and then they carry the responsibility on themselves. But all that is to say that like there's this level of disillusionment that Nesta is going through, and she is in the beginnings of the mental process of learning to not blame yourself and learning to love yourself. And unfortunately, Nesta does not get this healing till like 4 books from now.
Yeah.
So all of this self-disappointment, this self-hatred, this looking back on who she was back in the day, like all of this is bubbling throughout this entire series until Silver Flames.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, of course, she fucking drinks to the inch of her life and has threesomes and just to feel something. Like, of course, because
Yeah.
all of these books, she is dampening, she is pushing all these emotions down. It definitely went on a tangent that I didn't mean to go on.
No, I loved it though because I think it's so important and like, I know you all know we're like huge Nesta stands over
Yeah.
here, but even if we weren't, I think we'd still feel the
Yeah.
same way
Yeah.
because and I mean, this is just and this is why I think she's at least my favorite character is like Sarah just wrote such a beautifully complex but real character who is doing the work that's really hard to do, even though she's not necessarily wanting to do it, but
Yeah.
she does do it and she gets through it.
Yeah.
And just going back to what you were saying about like just having to live with her dad and Elaine, who literally cannot see through the like, and it's through no fault of their own,
No,
right?
no, it's through no fault of their own.
But that's in some ways gotta be even more frustrating because it's
Yeah.
like, I'm sure Nesta just wants to shake them and be like, "How do you not see what I am seeing?"
Yeah.
Right? But she can't, and I'd be really curious to know if she, like, ever tried in her
Right.
own way. Probably not because, like, I'm sure she knows, like, it would scare them, right?
Yeah.
To know, like, if she like, hypothetical here, if she were to, like, tell Elaine, like, there is no Aunt Ripley, right? Like, Feyre is actually in Prithian,
Yeah.
like, we don't know like, I feel like Elaine would just combust,
Yeah.
honestly,
Honestly.
because, like, obviously it would scare her, but, like, we don't know what like, there could be side effects to, like, telling
Right.
someone who's under a glamour
Yeah.
spell, like, you're glamored,
Yeah.
basically. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, and then we find out that she tried and we'll find out more later, but she tried to visit
Yeah.
She tried to visit Feyre, which we find out later, like, she wasn't glamored. She tries to go to the wall. But Elaine thinks that she tries to go visit Aunt Ripley and Feyre, which is just like fucking wild.
Yeah, and I feel like Feyre is probably like, I got a lot of questions. Like, what
Yeah.
happened? How did she turn around? How was the thing? Also, just like for how she's always felt that Nesta that has felt about
Yeah.
her. It's got to feel so weird for Feyre of just like, why? Um, but I love that that's our first little thing too, that something is different with Nesta
Yes.
because she's kind of like, because you're like, wait, Feyre, I mean, Nesta actually tried. Like that feels kind of out of the scope of what we believe this glamour to be. Like I would have assumed that Tamlin would have very purposefully added to the glamour that they should not come see her.
Yeah.
So that almost feels like a little literate or like a little moment of us kind of being like, oh, maybe we should have already clocked that Nesta had the glamour had been kind of broken on her because there's no way Tamlin wouldn't have added that into the glamour.
Maybe, something I'm realizing through this, and I'm going to be a little intentionally vague about this because it starts delving into other SJM series. But what I will say is there are some questions about the amount of power that Nesta has, right? I mean, we
So,
know yeah.
well,
I mean, we know she's human now.
okay. So I'm actually really glad. Can we jump off your vague statement
Yeah.
real quick? Because I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
really glad because I'm realizing where that tangent I just started on a bit ago,
Yes. Yeah,
where
yeah.
it actually started
Yeah.
was while I love this breaking of illusion and why, I actually believe that there is something about these Archeron sisters, which I feel like kind of goes into play of what you're sort of being vague about
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
yes,
I
yes.
actually do think there is something about these Archeron sisters where they were never meant to stay human. I do believe that they
Yes.
were always supposed to, because first of all, who Feyre ends up being for Prithian, like the importance of her,
Insane.
I mean, Amarantha in general, and then just this overall kind of like new
Hi
new
Hi Lee.
way. of having a High Lady, and there's also
Yeah.
this new way of navigating with the High Lords, with all of this stuff, like, all of them coming together to do something, like, she's kind of creating, like, a new age,
Yes.
right? And it's pretty wild, like, what she does. And then Nesta being someone who can actually hold the trove, all 3 of them, which is, like, has
Yeah.
never, like, when they talk about it in Silver Flames, it kinda makes it sound like it's really never been it's only been done by, like, one being, or, like, I don't remember the
Yeah.
specifics, but it's just, like, it's a I mean, also her being able to put on the death mask and then take it off. Remember? Everyone was so
Oh
shocked
my
that she
god.
could take it off because it's supposed to be the, like, it's very intoxicating to have this power and all of these things, and how she always just wants she doesn't want it near her. She actually, like, hates that they like that one time when, like, Helion finally does all the charms, and then, like, 2 days later, they just, like, find her in the room with all the stuff, and they're
Right,
like, "Oh,
right.
well, that didn't work." Like, or the
Well,
things coming
and
to her, like,
her making a made object.
yes,
Ataraxia.
very good point, Ariel, thank you. Yes,
Like,
absolutely, like, these women, um, and then Elain with her seeing, like, there's it's I mean, yes, we don't have a ton of experience in, like, this is Prithian's sort of first time, and I guess in a really long time, experiencing these made phase,
sure.
these phase that have been, like, created in this particular way, but it's just like there's these girls are special because
Yeah.
the fact that Nesta is able to take something from the cauldron, the fact that she has the fucking balls to do it, like, there's a lot of things about these women, and currently we have the majority of proof towards Feyre and Nesta because we don't fully have our Elain book yet. But I would still
Right.
argue the fact that these women survived the
Yeah.
cauldron and came out in the way that they did with their powers. I think there's something special about the Archeron. And part of my proof is in chapter 28,
Mm.
page 253. Feyre is sort of like kind of just like observing her sisters, right? And she's talking about Nesta. And she said, I'd forgotten how cunning her eyes were, how cold. She'd been made differently, from something harder and stronger than bone and blood. She was as different from the humans around us as I had become.
So there's a lot of theories out there that, and I'm not going to dive too deep into them because we're going to get into some spoiler territory with the other series, but there are some theories that Nesta has
Yeah.
some different parentage
Has a
than
different lineage.
a different lineage. I'm actually not a huge fan of those theories. I think
Yeah.
they do all have the same lineage, and I think along what you were saying, I think that these all three sisters are destined
Yes.
for something or
Yes.
like come from a very strong lineage. And I'm not going to say anything more than if you've read Throne of Glass, look up the Diana theory.
Yes. Just to
Yeah.
give that a little bit of a beat.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there is still, I think, a lot of mystery around the mom. And
Yeah.
it's really, but like this quote, for Sarah to put this, like, she'd been made
True.
differently from something
Yeah.
harder and stranger than bone and blood. Like, come
Well,
on. Come
if you've
on.
read Throne of Glass, there's a very particular
Yeah.
type of person I think that image
That would
conjures up.
hearken to. Absolutely.
Yes.
But
And
it's
that is a
just,
theory.
yes, it is. But I just in general, even if you haven't read any of the other series, I just feel like this quote feels something we've already proven by this point in our pod is that we don't believe that Sarah just sort of frivolously puts in phrases.
Right.
I don't feel like, just because we have so many times seen the payoff of a particular phrase or seen a
Yes.
whatever as you continue through the series. And so just this, and they bring up her eyes so many times in these 2 chapters too. Even with the quote that Ariel said earlier of, like, she makes them so uncomfortable when she stares at them in that way of hers. And then in Silver Flames, we sit a lot with Nesta's eyes and then the color that they turn into, um with her particular silver flame power that she, like, has, and, like, all these other things. Like, I just I believe part of why the glamour didn't work on Nesta is I just don't believe that any of these girls were 100% human. I really believe
Agreed.
that there is an element of these women that have had something. I mean, and other people have talked about this theory before, because also like Feyre's skill as a hunter. There's a level of that people have discussed. If she really was as destitute as she was saying, should she really physically have been able to like accomplish some of the things that she was doing like
Right?
as a mortal? So I just feel like these women, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a certain magical element that might be stronger in Nesta just being the firstborn.
Right.
And so I feel like there is some lineage stuff that I really hope we find out,
Oh,
because
I think we're
I
going
I
to.
I just don't think any of these girls, there's so much about Nesta and Silver Flames. And I know she's Fae by that point. But there's so many, like, in my mind, weird, like, destiny type shit that happens to Nesta
Yep.
in there. Or even Feyre with fucking Bryaxis.
Yeah.
Like that,
Oh.
like her being
Yeah.
able to like have these relationships, or with the bone carver, or like just, and I know again by the
Death
time
gods.
Feyre is doing these things, she is Fae, but still there is something in these women
Well,
that
let's
is just
real
yeah,
quick. The
yeah,
fact that Feyre is able to have these very close relationships with death gods,
yeah,
and the fact that Nesta becomes Lady Death, that's
yes,
not a coincidence. And like
no,
it's I think I'm gonna say it now on pod, so we do it. We're gonna have to have some sort of like bonus episode or do like a live or something to talk about overlapping series theories, because
yeah,
the amount of times I just want to say something, but and we purposely keep this podcast as spoiler free as we can from the rest of this, Sarah J. Maas series, because this is an ACOTAR podcast.
yeah, yeah,
But we got to talk about them at some point,
at some
because
point,
there's so many good ones,
yeah,
and I think they're going to become a factor at some point, whether
yes,
it's ACOTAR 6 or beyond.
yeah,
I mean, it's inevitable they
yeah,
are.
yeah,
Some at least. But
yeah,
yeah, Nesta is like a very big player in this chapter,
yeah.
more so than I think. I mean, definitely when you're reading it for the first
Oh
time, for
yeah, no,
sure, you're not supposed to see it. But even, in future rereads, I don't think a lot of people necessarily catch it
yeah.
unless you have like a conversation like this and you're like, oh shit, yeah, like,
No,
do you think
literally,
about this, this,
I
and this?
like, as I've said many times on this pod before, I have read this book many times. A lot of these Nesta realizations are some of the first times I've been making these.
Yeah.
And I do think it is because of the platform in which we know we're reading these chapters knowing that we're going to talk to each other about it. And so I think just like having that headspace when I'm reading has really changed the way I'm seeing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I told Ariel multiple times that I like these 2 chapters for me are just like, they're just about Nesta. Like,
Yeah.
that is from a spoiler cap headspace. That's the main stuff for me. I also think the way that she lands with Elain, I don't think I fully had appreciated before.
Yeah.
I think we push Elain to the side a lot,
Yeah.
but there is an appreciation that she has for Elain in these 2 chapters that I think is really, really beautiful. And
Yeah.
Ariel and I talked about it in the spoiler free episode, but I'm gonna kind of I'm it's gonna be weird because I'm gonna go to the last page of our
Yeah.
reading, but like this whole quote that she has, because she's at the cottage,
Yes.
right? And she's looking at all of that. Um, also so wild. But yeah, so she's
Oh,
looking at and she has this quote on 260. And there's a reason why I'm saying this in both episodes, because I just think this quote is really important.
yeah.
And it's, if she beheld,
Oh,
Feyre is talking about Elain in this moment.
yeah.
If she beheld not a prison but a shelter from a world that had possessed so little good, but she tried to find it anyway. even if it had seemed foolish and useless to me. She had looked at that cottage with hope. I had looked at it with nothing but hatred, and I knew which one of us had been stronger. I personally think that this becomes the like inspiration of who Feyre turns herself into.
Yeah.
Because I really think this helps Feyre realize who she wants to shape herself into being, because as we get even further into this book, she's really holding on to hope.
Yeah.
She is holding on to, even down to like I can't read, so in this trial 1 + 1 = 2, so I'll go, you know what I like, bullshitty
Tamlin and I were
things
two people.
because we're
Yeah.
2 people. But like she's really holding on to hope, and like, because that's
Yeah.
basically what she's saying in this quote of like, she is talking about how difficult it is in dark times to hold on to this idea of hope. And I'm sure anyone listening to this, you have some moment in your life that you completely understand. It is so much easier to look into the darkness in the pit and like to descend. It's
Yep.
so much easier. And I'm not like, and we all fall. We all do. It happens to me like
yeah.
twice a month, you know?
Yeah.
Like it happens. But the strength of holding on to hope and holding on to this idea also of just this idea of us, of that the world is good and that there are good people and that there are good creatures, like that is a really hard thing to hold on to, especially with the experience that these women have had.
Yeah.
And so even in this book we see her holding on to hope later, but then like the whole like mantra of like her and Rhys, you know, like the whole idea, like the stars, right?
Oh,
Like
to
what's
for the
their
dreamers who
exactly, and
dream
like
or whatever.
that
Yeah.
literally becomes their overall mantra of how they
Yeah.
lead. It becomes this thing, and like Feyre literally just turns into this person who just fights for love and the freedom of love and like the hope of like a better future. Like, and I think a lot of it starts here with
Yes.
this idea, this new way to navigate that she is learning from Elain. And like
Yeah.
I'm really having such a bigger appreciation and love for Elain, because like yes, I do think Elain is a little simple. I do.
Yeah.
But I also think there is an importance to having those kinds of people in our life who aren't picking apart every single little thing, every single yada yada. We
Yeah.
need those people who are going to bring us out of the pit and show us how actually beautiful and difficult it is to look at the beauty of life.
Well, look, not everyone can be a hero warrior, right? Because if the
Exactly.
world was full of hero warriors,
Ugh,
like
what a nightmare.
on first off, egos galore,
Oh
but
my God.
also like nothing would get. I mean, this actually, funny enough, kind of becomes a little bit of a problem in Throne of Glass,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you have all these warriors who are trying to like save the day, and they're like, "Wait, but I'm
Right.
doing this. I'm
Too many
doing
cooks.
that.
Too many cooks.
Too
Yeah.
many cooks, too many martyrs." So
Yeah.
yeah, we absolutely need the. I know, right? Like I'm thinking,
That's
of a
really
couple
good.
people in
That's really
particular.
good. Yeah.
The fucking blood oaths.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
but we need the Elaines. I mean, look, hope, I think, in not just literature, but in real life is it's a I don't even know what to call it, but it's a thing that is so I don't think that people appreciate how important it is.
Yeah.
You know, we had an entire president run on the campaign of hope
Hope
and win
and win. Yeah.
and make history,
Yeah.
very important history. Just
That's a
on I
really
mean,
good point. Yeah.
not just on the concept of hope. He did a lot more,
Mm,
but that
but
was a huge part of Barack Obama's
yeah.
campaign,
Yeah.
right? And platform. That's important. It's hope that it without hope, what do we have to fight
Yeah.
for, right? Like we really don't have it. Like it is the thing that gives us the energy, the chutzpah,
Yeah.
to fight.
Yeah.
And Elaine provides that. And I think, I'm so curious to see what Avatar 6 and beyond is going to be. Because I
Yeah.
do think we are, whether it's 6 or another book, we're going to get some kind of an Elaine book.
Yeah.
There's no way we're
There's
not.
no, I mean, there's just, it just would feel so weirdly
Yeah.
Like, it would mainly just because Silver Flame exists. Like, I just don't see
Yeah.
how we could end up not like, I think Feyre is always gonna be, like, the main queen,
Of
but it's like
course.
once
It'd be
once
weird.
she did the Silver Flames, I was like, "Well, now you would just be, like, mean if you didn't do an
Right.
Elain book." Like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I also think, like, I don't wanna get too far into this because it's going to other books, but, like, when we see Elaine post Cauldron,
Yeah.
right? Seeing her hope kinda get sucked out of
Yeah.
her. It's so jarring,
Yeah.
right? We're seeing this totally different person
And, like, the ladies, they don't really know how to, like, deal with that
navigate.
either. Like,
Yeah.
you can even Nesta, there's this level for her where she's like, she really doesn't they need Elaine to exist in the social space that she always has, and her not
Yeah.
existing in that space. Also, if anyone who has multiple siblings, when you have one sibling, we all have particular roles as siblings. And
Yeah.
when that one sibling is kind of not doing their normal role, like everyone just kind of like falls apart. Like no one really knows like what to do with it. And so yeah, it's really fascinating that like when that Elaine hope light is like gone, they're all kind of like,
Well, okay. I'm gonna throw out this theory out here, even though I know we haven't gotten to it yet in the series, but we're on the subject of hope, so I figured. Um, I was just talking to someone about the myth of Cassandra in
yeah,
Greek mythology.
yeah,
Which if you're not familiar, if you've ever heard the Taylor Swift song called Cassandra, it is literally about that Greek myth. And so in Greek mythology, we know Sarah J. Maas loves her mythology.
hmm,
Cassandra was a seer, just like
yeah,
Elaine becomes. And essentially what happens, I think it's Apollo, I could be wrong, falls in love with Cassandra, gives her the gift of foresight so she can see the future. But then she does something, I don't remember what, that pisses him off. So he curses her. He lets her keep the gift of foresight, but he curses her so that no one believes her
hmm,
when she predicts the future. And this is actually a big part of the Trojan War lore because she sees the Trojan
yeah.
horse. She foresees it. And then when she tells everyone, hey, there's this big wooden horse coming to
They all think
attack,
she's
no one,
crazy.
they think she's crazy. And
Yeah,
then the Trojan War happens, right? I wonder if Sarah J. Maas is turning Elaine into a Cassandra, and that's why she loses her hope, right? Because we do see this a few times where like she says these weird things
yeah,
and everyone's like, "What are you talking about, Elaine? Like you kind of got a little crazy,
yeah,
right?" But then those things they come true. And so I wonder if she's using the myth of Cassandra and kind of putting Elaine in that position. And naturally think about it this way, like if you predict the future, right? Or even if you just kind of can see things because of, in real life, pattern recognition,
right.
right? And no one believes you, you're gonna lose hope.
Yeah. The one thing though is that they do start believing her,
They do start. Yes.
right?
But
So
initially
like,
they don't
and they basically
necessarily.
really like kind of start, but yes, in the beginning they are, and I honestly think it's not until Azriel is like,
Yeah.
I think she's just seeing stuff,
Yes.
guys.
Yes. I think you're right. Yeah.
Like
So
yeah. So yeah, but I just these 2 chapters, honestly, it's like a lot of focus on Nesta, but like I'm starting to feel a little differently about Elaine. Like I'm starting to feel very kind of just like protective of our sweet baby girl because she just there is a level of joy that she is showing Feyre that is possible. And I don't know, I just think it's really I think it's pretty beautiful.
I think so too. And I think we've talked about this before, but Elaine doesn't get enough credit. She has a very important role to play,
Yeah.
both in terms of like theories that people have, but also just like what we already know,
Yeah.
right? Like again, like you said, with the whole with she's the embodiment of hope.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see how I think she will get that hope back at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think we start to see that hope come back in Silver Flames.
Yeah.
mainly just because of, like, her in the townhouse, like, her doing all of these little things, like, there's a certain amount of old Elaine that we see in Silver Flames that
Yeah.
I think is really, really lovely, and I think what I love is that great moment she has with Nesta where she's just like, "Fuck you,"
Yes.
or
We see her
Nesta
standing up for
curses at
herself.
her or something, and then they both start giggling, and then they just start kinda, like, talking, and, like, and Elaine is just like, yeah, like, they have a they have a come to Jesus. They have one of those moments together, and it's, like, one of the first times that we see Elaine really kinda like get into Nesta's face and just be like, "Girl, what the fuck?" Um,
Right.
and so I think we see a level of that hope really coming back in Silver
Yeah.
Flames.
The spark has come back.
Yeah.
She hasn't fully gotten her groove back, but I
Yeah.
think she will soon.
Stella has not fully gotten her groove back,
Exactly.
but she will, hopefully.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of
I was gonna say, I think that's all I have. So
me
next
too.
week we're gonna read chapters 30 through 31. Finally get through the human lands. Our girl's gonna come back to Prithian. We get to get under that fucking mountain. I'm
Dude.
so pumped.
Yeah, me too.
But in the meantime, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being patient with,
Yeah.
all the tech issues. We are back to normal. Also, in the meantime, you can find us on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. We're putting up some fun little clips there. And that's it.
Yeah, feels good. Feels good to be back.
It's
I'm
so good to be
ready.
back.
I'm so ready to get under
Yeah.
the mountain.
Ugh.
I'm dying. I'm ready to get there. I forgot how like slightly painful these human world chapters are.
Just a tad, but
Bad. Yeah,
look what we found.
I
Look at the
know.
treasures we found.
I know. So many treasures. But yeah, so thanks guys. We'll see you next week. And as always, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. Bye.
Bye.